Godcity Instruments Brutalist Jr. is a wonderful high-gain distortion based on the Providence Stampede SDT-1. It's a smaller version of the GCI Brutalist and fits into this very neat little business card for Kurt Ballou. I'm playing through a Fender Hadra Deluxe, recorded with a Red 5 RVD9 dynamic microphone straight in front of the speaker, combined with a couple of impulse responses. I'm going to be using a 2007 Epiphone Les Paul Custom. Now, as far as the pedal's controls go, the volume and distortion knobs are pretty self-explanatory, but the loudness knob is a little more interesting. It boosts both the high and the low end, so as you turn it up you start to get a more mid-scooped sound. Now first, here's my clean tone. Now engaging the pedal with both the distortion and the loudness at noon. Now to explore the loudness knob, first I'm going to turn it down to 9 o'clock. Now turning the loudness up to 3. And now with the loudness turned up to max. Now we're going to check out the range of the distortion knob, so first down to 9 o'clock. Now with the distortion turned up to 3 o'clock. And now the distortion turned up to the max. Now, since they only showed the knobs off individually, I figured I'd combine them a little. Here's both of them at 2 o'clock. And since I'm hardly going for subtlety when I use this pedal, let's just turn everything up. I myself just went with the listed bill of materials in this one, with no modifications. Though there are a couple of possible mods mentioned in the documentation, and you should definitely check those out. This was just an insanely easy build. There's a small amount of parts, everything is spaced out well. I have nothing but positive things to say. It's a very impressive PCB, and it's clearly had a lot of thought put into it. I usually don't discuss the finishes of my builds, cause they tend to just be simple waterslide decals. For this one though, it was my first time trying etching. First, I liberally applied nail polish to the enclosure, then scratched out the design I had made beforehand freehand. I then etched it using a solution of vinegar and salt, which I applied to some cotton and then attached to the positive side of a 9-volt battery, with the ground attached to the metal enclosure. I might try a higher concentration of salt for future builds, as the etch did not come out too deep, especially for the planned paint job for this box. I mixed grey and gold hammerite paint with some red to get a copper or kind of bronze-like hammered finish. I was going for an ancient Nordic relic type feel, like it had just been discovered in a cave after thousands of years, all beat up and dirty. Eventually, the etch just wasn't deep enough to stand out on its own with the paint job applied, so I opted to paint some of it gold and emphasize the smaller print with a marker. I did the paint job in multiple layers, remixing the paint every time. So there are slight color differences, but thankfully that just works out really well for the feel I was going for. I aged the knobs slightly by sanding and filing them down a little, then letting them sit in a tea and coffee bath for a couple of days. At first I envisioned a slightly grosser looking pedal, but I'm still quite happy with how this turned out.